All right. The unit of field strength in the SI system is called the Tesla. You might have known it. You might know it from the car. It's really named after Nikola Tesla, who the car is also named after. Why? Because he did a lot of work with the magnetics, and the electric car needs the magnetics. The Tesla turns out to be an unreasonably large unit. Just like the Coulomb, it is not really human scale. It's a product of how we define things in the SI system, and we're just kind of stuck with it. You tend to see things that are fields of millitesla or even microtesla, and not tend to see fields of 1 or more Tesla. Also, right now, it's a little strange to talk about this, as we haven't talked about how it interacts with anything, so I can't connect that to forces or energies yet. We'll have to put up with that temporarily until we can get a better definition of how the magnetic field influences things. Drawn from a textbook, we have some typical field strengths. Just to look at, maybe the important one to sort of as your baseline is, how about this place we live called the Earth? And we can see that that is 5 times 10 to the minus 5 Tesla, or 50 microtesla. So 50 microtesla is sort of a real world, the background field of the Earth. We'll tend to get more than that, but not much more than that. If we have a wire with 1 amp of current going through it, and we're 10 centimeters away, we see that we get only 2 microtesla, so 1/25th the size of the Earth's field. Refrigerated magnets are, looks like 5 millitesla, or 5,000 microtesla. And some other things around here. You can get a 1 Tesla field around a rare earth magnet or in an MRI machine. All right. Empirically, the equation for field near a long wire has been worked out, and it's that the magnetic field B is some constant times the current over 2 pi r, where r is how far we are from the wire. This constant mu naught is called the permeability of free space. It's a measure of how easily magnetic fields thread through free space, and in other materials, it wouldn't be mu naught, it would be mu, because they would have some other permeability. It's analogous to epsilon naught from electric fields, that kind of weird constant that we used in the alternate form of the Coulomb law, which tells you that was called the permittivity of free space and told you how much electric fields could thread through space. This is how much magnetic fields thread through space. Matter has a different permeability, which we would note with just simple mu instead of mu naught. Is mu an overused symbol in physics? Yeah, it really is. We're just kind of short on letters. The actual experimental value for mu is 1.26 times 10 to the minus 6, and then these word units, Tesla meters per amp. Why? Because that's what we need in this equation to get Teslas at the end, right? We need to cancel out the amps. We need to cancel out the meters. So it is suggestive, and that's not entirely crazy, about the 2 pi r, which is this a circumference? And the answer will be yes, but of what? And that will have to wait. But if you're like 2 pi r, every time I say that I mean circumference, it turns out it will in fact be an important part of, it will come from a circumference. All right, so a wire carrying 10 amps of current ends up having a field at 1 centimeter, which is 4 times as strong as the Earth's. That was that chart before. How far from the wire would the point you have to be to feel equal magnetic force from the Earth and the wire? Well, since the field depends inversely on the distance, if we want to make the field 1/4 as strong, we need to make the distance 4 times further. So it would have to be 4 centimeters. All right. As with the electric field, magnetic fields add linearly in a vector sense. This is what we call superposition. They linearly superpose, meaning that the actual field at any place is just the sum of the field produced by each of the things that are producing field. We just add B1 to B2 to whatever until we get the total field. In other words, this is pointing out a thing which you probably just assumed was true, because most things are linearly superposable. All right, so what is the direction of the magnetic field at point P, but due only to wire 2? Well, we see that if we were doing wire 2, the current flows this way. If you would put your hand around the current, it would then, your fingers would curl in that sense. And so at point P, there, that field is coming out of the page. At the moment, that's sort of just a warm-up from the last lesson because we only have the one wire. But what is the direction of the total magnetic field at point P coming from both wires together? And we see, of course, that we would get out of the page from wire 2, the one we just did. Wire 1 goes the other way, so if you put your thumb along it and you curled it, right, if you have wire 1, the current is going that way, so then the field looks like this. And so at point P, it's going into the page. But we can see that wire 1 is much closer, in fact, twice as close as wire 2. So it's stronger. So the into the page is more than the out of the page, which means the overall one is into the page. All right. And if the current I is 5 amps, what is the strength of the magnetic field at P in terms of Tesla? Well, the field due to 1 is going to be mu naught I over 2 pi r, where r is the 8 centimeters. So we grind out some numbers, and we find that it's 1.25 times 10 to the minus 5 Tesla. And we would do the same thing to get field 2, except I'm going to take a shortcut. Since it's twice as far away, it will be half as strong because of the inverse relations and the fact that it's the same current. So at B2, it's going to be 0.627 times 10 to the minus 5 Tesla. And there's no good reason these aren't 12.5 and 6.3 microtesla, which probably makes more sense, but whatever. The fields are opposed, which means one of them would have to be a negative. So we're going to say this field minus this field, which is, of course, itself again, 0.627 times 10 to the minus 5 Tesla. And as we already said, it would be into the page. All right, the geometry of field around a current loop is much more complicated, and therefore it is not easy to come up with an expression for B as just a function of anywhere you are in the space. But the expression of the field at the center is actually really very simple because they all just linearly superpose there, and it turns out that you get that the field at the center is mu naught I over 2r. Notice it looks a lot like the long wire case, but the factor of pi has gone missing, and later in the class, when we've done Ampere's law, we'll see why that would be. It's a little annoying, and there's nothing that can be said about that. It's almost the same, but not quite. And the only way I know to remember it is that it's almost the same, but not quite, and remember what the difference has to be. If we made a flat coil of n loops, then each of them would contribute this because of linear superposition. So at the center, we'd have mu naught Ni over 2r. And that's a useful thing to sort of know as the current at the center of a collection of n loops. And then the solenoid, again, our third of the things we talk about. The solenoid produces a uniform field within the coil-ish, if the solenoid is infinitely large and infinitely long. The radius of the solenoid turns out not to matter because the field strength is constant, the same way that the electric field between capacitor plates doesn't depend on their separation. You might remember back here that if we have two plates, that the electric field from one to the other depended on the charge density, sigma, which was Q over the area, but did not depend on the displacement. It was the same everywhere, no matter how far apart the two plates were. And likewise, for the solenoid, will turn out that the radius of the solenoid ends up not mattering, but that the length does, and we end up caring mostly about the turns per unit length. We pump some current into this thing, some current I, and if we have more turns per centimeter, then we get a stronger field at the center. And that's because we're just stacking more and more of those flat coils together, essentially. And to go back, let's get this a little clean again. So the magnetic field around a solenoid is mu naught N times I over L. And it's not entirely uncommon for this to instead be written as mu naught Ni, where N is just the number of turns per unit length, the linear density of turns, which is weird terminology. And we don't tend to say that very much, but be careful that sometimes it's given as little n being the turn, not the number of turns, but the turns per unit length. That's just a matter of dialect, essentially. All right, so investigator has made a solenoid by wrapping 100 turns of wire around on a tube that is 10 centimeters long and 2 centimeters in diameter. The power supply providing as much current as it can, but a stronger field is needed, so the solenoid must be rewrapped. We have to make it a little bit stronger. Which of the following would result in a stronger field? That we wrap this same number of turns on a tube that is 20 centimeters long and 2 centimeters diameter, or 10 centimeters long and 1 centimeter diameter, or 5 centimeters long and 2 centimeters diameter. And the very first thing is that we know we don't really care about the diameters, so I'm just going to get rid of them. What we care about is the turns per length, so we're looking for a higher value of n, which is n over L. And since we're doing the same number of turns, what we want to do is minimize that length, so it would have to be C.